We just made it to Lake Placid. It is 12:28 a.m. Very long drive, took to get here about 3 hours and 45 minutes. So not that long, but felt long. And tomorrow, at a very bright and early time, we are gonna hike Cascade and Porter, two of the high peaks in the Adirondacks. And the point of this hike is not only for the beautiful views and the joy of hiking, but also to look at the Alpine zone, which is at the top of each of the high peaks in the Adirondacks. And this is a very special area of biodiversity that we will look into more tomorrow. Got my pack here, and we'll be ready to go in about 5 hours. Good night. My friend Sean and I rented out this really nice cabin so we could get a little bit of rest before our nice big trip tomorrow. We are just about to leave the Norway cabin, which is the cutest cabin ever, for $80 a night, which is an amazing deal. And we have about a 20-minute drive to the peaks, the trailhead for Cascade. Then we'll get on that mountain and climb away. Let me take this time to talk a little bit about the Alpine Zone. The Adirondack Alpine Zone has a very unique, diverse array of plant species that have fortified themselves to be able to handle the very harsh, difficult conditions shown on the tops of these peaks. Due to the adaptations these plants have had to make, they're able to survive in this ecosystem, but only this ecosystem, making it very difficult to promote the growth of these species and to maintain their habitability. This is why protecting them becomes so important, as if they are lost up here, they may be lost forever. This diagram is called the Holdridge diagram, and it's a helpful way to see the different altitude levels and how that correlates with the different zones. You can see the Alpine zone is in between the subalpine zone and the Alvar zone. The Alvar zone being an area where it's purely rock, very dead, and not that much life. This diagram also shows the annual precipitation rate and the potential evapotranspiration ratio, which can also help us better understand what plant species are able to survive under certain zones and in certain conditions. While we're on the topic of species you might see in the Adirondacks, a stunted balsam fir tree is very common. This is also known as a Krummholz. These trees are stunted due to the harsh environmental conditions and the very high elevation. The term Krummholz also refers to them growing very dense, closely together, also often mixed with red spruce. Other species you might see are sedge meadows, lichen, mosses, and different low-ground shrubs. Due to the high elevation and easy access to sun, these species don't focus on growth upwards, but outwards. They also focus on rooting very deep into the soil. Soil is not an abundant resource on top of these peaks, so it's important for these species to root down and establish themselves early. Let's get back to hiking now. Sean and I began our hike around 6:15, and we quickly gained elevation within the first 30 minutes. Took a couple cool photos too. We are 45 minutes, no, about an hour into the hike so far, and we're just now starting to see a bit of a clearing. Feel like within the next 30 minutes we should be at the top. As we climbed higher, we were able to see less and less of the surrounding area due to the density of the trees. Although the trees got closer together, the canopy became more sparse. Moss and lichen became very prevalent on the forest floor, and you could see how well they were doing due to all the rain from the past previous days. We began to see more and more large slabs of rock that had been smoothed over due to weathering as we got closer to the top. Here we found a very interesting species of what I can assume is lichen, and I thought it deserved its own close-up. Before we knew it, we had entered the
What's our
Alpine
victory
zone.
song?
I don't know, whatever this is.
Alrighty. It smells weird. A little. Yeah. What'd you say?
And just like that, we made it to the top of Cascade Peak. We made it to the Cascade Peak. This is Cascade Mountain. This is the beautiful view. And we're taking a little break here before we go do Porter. I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Alpine Zone is. The Alpine Tundra Zone. It's a little windy, and why it's important to this ecosystem. So on the high peaks, since there is such wind throw that could damage a lot of the species on the lower parts of the mountain, there are these species that have adapted specifically to this climate, this harsh environment, and on the tops of these peaks, these long winters that occur here. And these species are able to tolerate freezing cold temperatures for very long durations of time. They're able to handle the 70-mile-an-hour winds that do occur here, sometimes up to 100 miles per hour. And they're very protected here because one thing that they cannot handle is someone stepping on them. That is a big problem at the tops of these mountains because there's so much foot traffic that people want to make sure that they stay preserved because there are only such a limited amount of these species in New York. These alpine tundra zones only occur at the tops of these peaks in the Adirondacks. So it's really important that we preserve them and keep them beautiful for as long as we can. I'll do a little spin around on the tripod so you can get the true view of this. It's very windy. Hopefully you can still hear me. There's Sean eating his turkey sub. And we devouring my pasta salad that I forgot to bring a fork for, so I'm gonna bare hand that shit. After a bit of time there, we hiked over to Porter.
Because we're not even near Little Porter.
Alright, we made it to Porter. Pretty much the same area, but a lot more coniferous trees. A little taller because we're slightly lower in elevation. We are back to the first brief outlook position, and we're gonna start our decline now. We were cutting it pretty close on time, so we had to hike down super fast. But just to recap a little bit, the Alpine zone is extremely important as it holds many rare and endemic species, ones that would not be suitable in other environments. These species forms this habitat on top of these Alpine zone peaks, and this is what creates homes for other invertebrates, other animals that might enter these peaks, and it's what makes it so beautiful and so special. The Adirondack peaks are a big highlight of New York, especially upstate New York. So it's really important that we preserve these limited areas as much as we can.
5 minutes it took us to get down.
It took us 45 minutes to get down. It's about 9:50 now, and we are going to rush back to Syracuse so that Sean can make his lab. Yay! I hope you enjoyed this adventure into the Adirondack Alpine Zone just as much as we did. I hope you also gained some knowledge and appreciation for this unique ecosystem that we're so fortunate to have. If you ever decide to hike the Adirondack Peaks, make sure to enjoy the nature, enjoy the beautiful views and the beautiful unique species, and make sure to watch your step. The plants will thank you.